Uh, Hello, we're having an interview today with Felipe Aguirre, former mayor of Maywood, California, and still council member. And he was the person who was instrumental in starting the sanctuary movement in the United States, sanctuary for the undocumented. And this arose as after a struggle of many years against the impounding of cars here in Maywood. And Felipe, I want to ask you, your experience with the impounding of the cars, how does that affect the current situation now, being how that is still going on in other cities other than Maywood?
Well, basically the impounding of vehicles is a way for police departments to raise funds, and particularly now in the bad economic situation that the state of California is, I think that a lot of police departments are going to try to look at this as an alternative to getting money. That's the way that the city of Maywood got involved in this process. We were able to stop this towing of the vehicles because a very strong presence and pressure from the community organizations here in the city of Maywood.
Can you name some?
Yes, Padres Unidos de Maywood, Comité Pro Uno, 1LA, Parish of St. Rosa Lima, were the community groups that were involved in stopping the towing of the vehicles here in the city of Maywood. We were able to organize a whole movement to stop the checkpoints and elect a new progressive majority to the Maywood City Council, which still continues to exist here in the city. What doesn't exist is the towing of the vehicles and holding of the vehicles for 30 days. It was basically an organized racket here in the city, and as we and the other entities get deeper and deeper into this process, we begin to understand that this has really no validity within the law.
Yeah.
And we change our towing policy based on our interpretation of the law, and this is the only city in the state of California that doesn't tow the vehicles and has an actual anti-towing ordinance within its municipal code.
Okay, then what in effect has happened is that you have made an important example for the rest of the cities in California. I understand from hearing Cynthia Anderson, attorney who has filed a suit against the state of California in the 9th Judicial District, that there are not any uniform standards used by any of the, I think it's like 19 cities, is it, that have these that have used this towing situation, and it's all up in the air. It's a real chaotic situation, and if you cross one line of one city to the next, you can be in another type of situation. Could you comment on some of those parts of that law that is being challenged?
Well, yes. From what I understand is that every jurisdiction and some jurisdictions that are statewide, like the California Highway Patrol, has their own policies in line as far as to the towing of the vehicles. And the towing of the vehicles happens in California to unlicensed drivers. And the situation of the unlicensed drivers was created by the state of California, whereby previously an activity that was legal, a person driving a vehicle in the state of California, was made illegal when they took away or they enforced immigration codes in terms of having the right to drive a vehicle. Before this didn't exist in the state of California, and any person that has had a driver's license in the past does not really violate the law. Basically, it says that you're a licensed driver, and your car would be towed if you are an unlicensed driver than a licensed driver. So basically, the law is made to supposedly enforce public safety and driving standards, but in reality, it's been turned into an immigration enforcement adjunct.
Well, this comes about as a result of all the hysteria against the undocumented in this state. However, recently the polls have shown that people are not that against the undocumented and want a path toward citizenship for them. When will there be a result with regard to the appeal from to the Ninth Circuit appellate court?
Well, I don't really know that. I think that the attorneys have more information. I understand that it's going to happen within this next year, the decision of the courts. And really, what has happened here is that no jurisdictions that really wanted to take this issue on. They really all look at the state law, and their interpretation of the state law goes from really weird to contradictory. But Maywood, the city of Maywood, was the first one to take it on because of the tremendous toll that it had on our community. And any jurisdiction can have a copy of our ordinance and how we actually implement our ordinance to understand how we broke down a real powerful interest in our local community.
Yeah. Would you comment on this aspect that you know, we want our police to work within the law, and we want them to be, you know, not subject to corruption. In this city and probably the other ones, was this a form that was making the police department corrupt?
Well, I'd say so. I think that in reality, the city of Maywood went on a hiring rampage, hiring a lot of police officers. At the time, the city was flush with money from the towing of the vehicles. They hired a lot of police officers that were not really trained to do anything except towing vehicles. We used to have a situation where about 90 cars were towed every single weekend in the city of Maywood. That meant that the owner of the towing company made a net profit any 1 year of $4 million. So he kept all the politicians very happy, and in the type of situation that we had, the community was really elected officials. By changing the players in the game, we created a whole new way for dealing with the unlicensed drivers. Yeah. We still are within the state law. We still obey the state law, but it's the way that you implement the state constitutional law or the state vehicle code in the city of Maywood.
Yeah. Would you say that the original reason, as you mentioned earlier, for this law to be enacted was for security purposes, right? To keep unlicensed drivers. Has that law had that effect, that so-called desired effect of having more security because of that, or has it been more of an impediment to actually having security?
Yeah, I think it was more of an impediment, because what you would have is people not coming to Maywood at all, and it was having a big economic impact in terms of our city. People who had to visit their family members here in Maywood would not come into the Maywood on the weekends because they know that there would be a checkpoint set up. People would not come to shop in our city, so it had a big economic impact. And to this day, even 5 years after we stopped the policy, immigrants still from other parts of California don't want to come to Maywood because they think that the towing of the vehicle still goes on. The people in the local region know that doesn't happen. The people outside of our region know that happens, and in effect it keeps the families from visiting each other, keeps people from coming into our community. Yeah. That has a detrimental effect in terms of the attitude people have about the city of Maywood.
And the economy also.
It has an economic effect. It doesn't really affect public security, because public security, as we understand it, is really people being able to be secured in their way that they handle themselves in the city. And this had no effect upon that. All it did was a big racket, and they try to justify it by saying that keeping unlicensed drivers off the road was good for public safety, but all these drivers were all licensed. At one time they had all passed the driving test. What happened was that the state of California changed the policy in the middle of the road, in the middle of the process.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and you know, your comments, I'm sure that people who watch this on YouTube will get to understand this situation better. Thank you very much, Felipe Aguirre, former mayor of Maywood and current councilman in Maywood. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Okay.